Hello and welcome to class. Thank you so much for joining me. This is a level 2, so a bit of a step up from level 1. Place yourself on your mat in a supine position. We're going to do a supine hip flexor stretch. Grab your left knee, squeeze your knee in towards your chest for 5, 4, 3 little pulses massaging out the hip, 2, 1, and then we're going to do a hamstring stretch. Grab hold of the back of the thigh, straighten and bend your leg 5 times. It doesn't matter how high the leg goes. You can also bend that supporting leg. So just straightening and bending 5 times, just opening up the back of the leg. And then we pause there with the leg straight. Either keep hold of the back of the thigh or place your hands on your calf or your ankle, and you can keep your other leg bent or reach it out. Breathing in wide ribs, breathing out, releasing other side. Grab hold of the knee, squeeze the knee in towards your chest 5 times. 4, just opening up the hips. 3, we spend a lot of time sitting, so this is just to warm you up, stretch you out. Grab hold of the back of the thigh, hamstring stretch, bend and straighten 5 times. If you can't fully straighten the leg, that's fine. Just do what you can with the intention to stretch the back of the leg. And then holding it there, you can either have the other leg bent or straighten it out along the floor. And we breathe into the back of the leg. Check into your neck and your shoulders, drawing your collarbones down. Breathing in a way that's creating stretch and length in your body. Now into supine spine curls with knee floats. So feet sit bone width apart, arms down by your side. Imprint the lower back, tuck the tailbone up, lifting up, ribs down, and then roll the spine sequentially down to the start position. And again, breathing out to tuck the tailbone up, breathing into pause at the top, and then breathing out, imprint 1 vertebrae at a time down, and then return to neutral again. So 2 more of these. Make sure that your knees stay parallel, like there's a tennis ball in between your knees. Our target area is the back of the leg, so you really want to draw your sit bones to the back of your thighs. And the challenge is to keep your rib cage down rather than popping up. Now we're going to add in a knee float. So you lift up, lift one knee off, and then plant the foot down. Lift the other knee up, and then plant the foot down. Breathing into pause, and then rolling back down through the spine. Again, tuck the tailbone up. Now press both feet down into the floor, rib cage down, and then alternate which leg you lift up first. The challenge here is to keep the hip bones really square to the ceiling as you do the knee float. 2 more of these. Tuck the tailbone up, lifting up. Really press into the supporting leg. Press your wrists and your arms down into the mat and reach your hands and your knees away from you. Lovely. Good. 1 more, tuck the tailbone up, rib cage down, feeling your glutes and your core. Float 1 leg up, plant it back down. Keep the hips nice and square. Plant it back down. Imagine a tennis ball between the knees and then rolling back down. Curl ups with single knee floats. Hands behind your head, fully interlace them, elbows slightly lifted, pelvis in neutral. Breathing out to lift your head and your chest up. Now you lift 1 knee up to tabletop and then plant that foot down. Lift the other knee up to tabletop, plant it down. Do a little lift of your chest and then lower down. Keep your abs engaged, lifting up again. And then we alternate which knee you lift up first and then the other side. And then do a little lift of your chest and then lower down. Breathing out to lift up, breathing into pause, breathing out to lift 1 leg up. Pelvic stability, headlight square to the ceiling. Breathing out to lift, breathing in to lower. Lift your chest and then lower back down. Again, alternating sides. Now you want to make sure that your pelvis stays really square to the ceiling. There's a little bit of a hollow in your lower back without tensing your back muscles. And mainly, you're pressing your lower rib cage down into the mat to get into the upper powerhouse, the obliques. Such a great strengthening abdominal and pelvic stability exercise. Good. Again, lifting up, making sure that the tummy doesn't puff out when you lift up, and when you transfer, floating the legs up, lift, and then reaching out as you lower down. Figure 4 obliques. Cross your left ankle over your right thigh. Place your right hand against your left knee. Now you're going to lift both shoulders up, but you're lifting your right shoulder up more. Press your hand into your knee into your hand, scoop your belly, and then return back down. You're lifting up, pushing the knee away. Press the knee against your hand, scoop in, and then return. So both shoulder blades are lifting, but your right one is lifting up more. You're pushing the knee away. Our focus is the obliques, those waist muscles. Good. Press, scoop, and then back down. About 6 of these. Scoop the belly, lower back down with control. Good. Lift, press, press, scoop, and then back down. Other side. It's quite a strong exercise. So the hand and the knee are in contact. Now lifting up using your abdominals, press the hand into the knee into the hand, suck the belly in, and then lower down and relax. Again, lift up, push the knee away, push the knee into the hand, scoop the belly, and then lower back down. Breathing out, lift up, press, press, pelvic floor, and then back down. So strengthening for around your core. Keep the collarbones down away from the ears. The left shoulder is lifting up higher than the right, but both shoulder blades, try and lift both of them off, but slightly more with the left. Good. Excellent. Up, up, down, down. So this is a pelvic stability exercise. Hands over your pelvis, tailbone down, little hollow in the back. Lift one leg up, followed by the other, and then both legs down together. Alternating which leg you lift up, and then both back down. Now the challenge here is to keep your pelvis and lower back totally motionless whilst you float the thighs in the hip socket. So imagine a skewer going through your hips. You want to keep the headlights of your hips really square up to the ceiling. The challenge is when you lower the legs down, you don't want those headlights to shine down away from you. Hip rolls with single leg extension, arms at a stop sign. Roll over to one hip, straighten the top leg, bend and return. Roll, straighten the top leg, bend and return. Breathing in to roll. Breathing out to straighten, breathing in to bend, breathing out to return. In and out, in and return. Good, keep going. The priority is to keep both shoulders plugged down into the mat whilst you roll one hip off, making sure that the hip that you're lifting up, that same shoulder blade is pressing down into the floor. As you extend the leg out, really try and draw your pubic bone up towards your belly button, using your thigh and your tummy to extend the leg out. Beautiful stretch on your spine. Place your legs down. Now into chalk circles, lying on your side. Knees are bent up in a tabletop. The top hand swipes down over the hip. Rotate around over your head. I'm just getting rid of that. Remove any obstacles. So you're rolling around, reaching the arm over the head, and then return. Allow the head to be heavy and to roll from one ear to the back of the skull towards the other side of your head. And we're keeping the knees and hips stacked whilst you rotate your breastplate towards the ceiling. Anywhere between 4 to 6 of these. rotating the palm up to the ceiling and then over the crown of the head. And then reverse it, so the arm goes over your head, rotate around, and then return. Beautiful massage on the upper body. And of course, pelvic floor, deep abdominals gently supporting you as you roll. So it's called chalk circles, imagining that there's a piece of chalk in your hand and you're drawing a circle on the floor around your body. So you're really trying to just let go and get that range. Now into psoas reach. Place your right knee to the back of your left foot, and then the left hand is in line with the left hip, right elbow on your hip. Lift up, and you're pressing the pelvis forward as you reach back. Lift your head up, tuck your tailbone up to the ceiling. Keep your buttocks engaged. We're stretching the right side of your hip and your psoas there. I needed to move my hand in a little bit here. And don't worry about what it looks like. We're actually wanting to feel the stretch in your right waist and right hip. Squeezing the buttocks, reaching over. To come out of it, lift your head up and then look towards your pelvis. Other side. Chalk circles, lying on your side, arms out in line with your shoulders, pelvis and back aligned. Hand goes over the hip, circle it around over the head, and then return. Breathing naturally. Once your arm reaches up above shoulder height around there, it can be really intense a stretch. You can bend your elbow and really try and soften the collarbone down away from the ear. Then we reverse it, rotating the breastplate to the ceiling. Palms swipe over each other. Heavy head. Allow your head to roll so you're not using your neck muscles. Keep the hips and knees as stacked as you can. Beautiful exercise. This is actually a Feldenkrais exercise to release the upper body. Psoas reach. Kneeling up, left knee behind your right foot, right hand in line with your pocket, left elbow into your left hip. Squeeze your buttocks, lift up and reach over, lift your head up so you don't get whiplash, and then lower down with a tuck. Your buttocks is contracted here, pressing your hips forward. You lift up and then you keep tucking your tail up towards your head. Open. Feel the stretch in the left side of your waist and the front of your left hip. Breathing in to stretch the psoas muscle, the big, deep hip muscle. Well done. Kneeling hip flexor stretch. Kneeling up. Bring your right foot forward, foot underneath your knee, and move your left leg back. We want to stretch the front of your left hip. Press your left foot down into the floor like you're trying to straighten your left knee, and that will open up the front of your left hip. Breathing in wide ribs, breathing out deep abdominals. Now you might want to come up onto your hands here. Once again, the intention is to stretch your hips out, not just to do a big back bend. Okay, hands down, and then reach your left arm over your head. You're doing a side bend here. Stretching the left side of your body, reaching your left hand away from your left hip. Breathing into it, allow your head to be in a position that feels right on your neck. Breathing, stretching. Place the hand back down. Other side. Left leg forward. Foot underneath the knee. I like to lift my back knee up and then place it down. It just puts my kneecap in a good position. And then the intention here is to stretch the front of your right hip. So can you, with each out breath, imagine your pubic bone, your pelvis melting down towards the mat? Waist muscles are gently drawing in like you're doing up a belt. And you can either stay there or come up onto your knee. Once again, if this is too much on your lower back, keep your hands down. The intention is not to do a back bend, it's to open up the hips. Place your hands down, keep your left hand on the outside of your left foot, and then reach your right arm over the crown of the head. We're doing a side bend here, and this will really stretch out the psoas muscle again. Breathing into the right rib cage like your ribs are gills on a fish, opening and closing. And then plant the hand down. Well done. Now into curl backs. Set yourself up so you balance between your coccyx and your sit bones, feet apart, hands behind your thighs, lengthen. Roll onto your tailbone, then onto your sacrum at the base of your spine. Now C-curve forward and then elongate up. Again, rolling back on the tailbone, the sacrum, pubic bone to nose, and then shoulders over hips, and then elongate. Again. Now feel your hamstrings contract as well. So can you try, as you do this, we're doing 3 more. As you roll back onto your tailbone and your coccyx and your sacrum, can you also activate the back of the legs by drawing your sit bones towards your thigh bone? So your hamstrings at the back there are engaged as well as the abdominals. Elongate up. Rolling back, tummy and back of legs. Excellent. Lying on your back, rolling onto your back, so imprint your sacrum, your lower back, all the way down. Long leg lifts, hands behind your head, legs are straight, flex your feet. Lift your head and your chest up, lift your right leg straight up, and then lower back down. Lift your left leg straight up and then lower back down. 8 more of these. Now the challenge here is you're trying to imprint your lower back and your lower rib cage down into the mat the whole time. So it's actually really hard when you're lying flat there on your abs. Okay, and you'll feel your core working by trying to imprint your lower back and your lower ribs flat into the mat as you lift and lower. And then into oblique. So lift your right leg up, lift your left shoulder and arm up, and then the other side and back down. Lift your left elbow up, but keep your right elbow down. So really stretching the elbows away from one another. The feet are flexed, your kneecaps are squeezing up towards your thighs. Your lower back, your lower ribs are imprinting towards the mat the whole time, particularly when you're lying flat. Really energetically reaching out through the heels. Well done. Into double knee hug. So you're going to grab the knees, squeeze the knees in towards your chest 5 times, massaging out your hips, massaging out your lower back. And then we're going to go into hundreds. Knees up into tabletop, arms either straight up or over the crown of the head. Keep imprinting your lower rib cage down. Breathe out to lift up, breathe in to prepare, and pulse 2, 3, 4, 5, in 2, 3, 4, 5, breathe out 2, 3, 4, 5, breathe in 2, 3, 4, 20, out 2, 3, 4, 5, breathe in 2, 3, 4, 30. Now keep going. Okay, we're pulsing the arms, but you want to try and keep your head as still as possible. Squeeze your bra line, the muscles around underneath your shoulder blades, squeeze them down. So you're really feeling the mid-back muscles pulling your shoulders down. You can put your hands behind your head if you need to, but if you're really engaging those shoulder pull-down muscles, you won't feel your neck. Imprint your lower rib cage down and then have a little rest. Supine glute stretch. Left ankle across your right thigh, grab hold of your shin. 5 deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. Collarbones are down anchoring the coccyx and your sit bones down to the floor so you feel elongated through your spine. Other leg. Right leg over the left thigh. Grab hold. If holding onto the shin is too intense, hold on to the back of the thigh instead. If you can't put your head down, then maybe prop a pillow or a Pilates ball behind your head. Collarbones back and down. Tailbone lengthening out, really stretching, ironing your spine out as you use your arms to stretch your right hip. Single leg stretch prep. Knees in tabletop, both hands against your right thigh. Now reach your left leg out and then return. Press both hands against your left thigh, reach your right leg out and then return. You're pressing your hands and your thighs against one another. Now with that leg that straightens, push your calf against your foot. So you're pressing the leg that straightens into the foot that's bent. Press the hands and the knees against one another, feeling your abdominals, and then press your straight leg into your bent leg foot to activate your inside thighs and your core. You'll really feel that pressing the feet, the legs towards one another, feeling the inside thighs and the glutes work. Of course, collarbones are down so you're not hunching your upper shoulders. Good work. Grab hold of the knees, rock the knees left and right, massaging out your back, massaging out the pelvis. Okay, now into scissors prep. Hands behind your head. Right leg is straight up towards the ceiling. Lift your head and your chest up. Right leg is straight up towards the ceiling. Foot is flexed. Now lower and lift your leg 10 times, keeping your upper body lifted. You're looking towards your knees. Your lower ribs are pressing down into the mat to feel your obliques and to get that flexion, that curve through your upper body. Of course, the headlights of your hips are square to the ceiling. And I can't emphasize that reach out through the heel enough. So the muscles at the front and the back of the leg are co-contracting. Bend the knee and then plant the head down. Have a little rest. And then left leg up, lift up, lower the left leg down and up 10 times. If I was to poke your left thigh muscle, it would be firm. If I was to poke your hamstring, the muscle at the back of your left leg, I want that contracted as well, like you're drawing your thigh bone down towards your sit bone, pressing the ribs down into the floor to lift your shoulders up. Heavy head into your hands. I like to push my head back into my hands so I relax my neck. Plant that foot down, lower down. Have a little breather. Now we're going to flip over onto your tummy and we're going to do an exercise called repertoire stretch. It's a deep stretch on the front of the hip. Your right foot is underneath your left shin and your knee is out to the side. I'm just going to show you what that looks like from front on. Your right foot is underneath your shin. That's it. And your knee is out to the side. Now, imagine there's fingers. How many fingers stacked could you fit underneath that right hip? Okay, now what we want to do is breathe in to prepare, breathing out wee muscles, waist muscles. Now squeeze your buttocks and try and imprint the right hip down into the mat to reduce the number of fingers you could stack underneath that hip, if that makes sense. Okay, so if you could fit 3 fingers underneath there, you're squeezing your bottom, you're pressing your hip down so you could fit 2. And then release. We're going to do 3 10-second holds. And again, so squeeze your buttocks, press the hip down. It's like you're imprinting your pubic bone and your tailbone down to the floor, reaching the knee out. And then release. 1 more. Pelvic floor, navel to spine. Squeeze your bottom, Try and imprint your pubic bone down. Imagine the front of your hip socket going towards the mat, stretching your right knee out away from your hip socket, creating space in the front of the hip capsule. Other side. Left foot underneath your right shin, knee out to the side, hands stacked underneath your face. Breathing in to prepare. Breathing out, pelvic floor, navel to spine. Contract your bottom and then imprint your tailbone down towards the mat, reaching the left knee out. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then release. Breathing in to prepare. And again, breathing out, pelvic floor, navel to spine. Squeezing the buttocks. If I was to press into both butt cheeks, I'd want them nice and firm to stretch the front of the left hip socket. And then release. Breathing in to prepare. Breathing out, pelvic floor, navel to spine. Squeeze your bottom. Try and imprint the front of your left hip down into the mat, reaching the left knee out away from the hip socket to create space in the front of the hip capsule. It can be a pretty intense stretch, but really beautiful for the deep tendons and ligaments around your hip. Into Sphinx. So legs apart, arms at a stop sign, pubic bone imprinted in towards the mat. Breathe in to prepare, pelvic floor, navel to spine, and then you're going to lift your head and your chest up off the floor, and then breathing in to return. And again, lifting your breastplate off with length and then lowering back down. Again. Now what we want to try and do is try and draw the tips of your shoulders down towards a V as you lift up. We're trying to strengthen the muscles underneath and in between the lower shoulder blades, and then return. Of course, the deep abdominals are gently scooping your belly up. And it's like you're lifting your chest off but keeping your lower rib cage on the mat, strengthening the mid-back muscles. Pubic bone is imprinted into the mat so that the back of the legs are engaged and the tummy is scooped up. And then we're going to dart with single arms. We'll do about 8 of these. So roll your left ear down onto the floor, palms up towards the ceiling. Breathe in to prepare, pelvic floor, navel to spine. And then you're going to lift your head and your chest up. I'm having a little rest here. So enjoy the rest. And then when you're ready to rock and roll, pelvic floor, navel to spine, lift up, palms down to the floor. Reach your right arm out to a T, back down by your side. Left arm out to a T, back down by your side. Shoulders back, lower down, right ear down on the mat. Fully relax. Inhale. Exhale, pelvic floor, navel to spine, roll your shoulders back. Left arm out to the side, back down. Right arm out to the side. Shoulders squeeze back and then lower down and relax. Breathing in to prepare, breathing out to lift up. Your face is looking down towards the mat, towards the front of your mat. Now the challenge here is to open your arms out one at a time without rocking through your torso. So it's a torso stability challenge. Energetically, your legs are reaching out away from your hips. Your pubic bone is imprinted into the mat so that the back of the legs and the tummy are co-contracted. The other challenge here is when you lift one arm up and then the other is to not lift the collarbones up at the same time. So when you reach the arm out, think of dropping the collarbone away from the ear. Dropping the collarbone away from the ear. Scoop and then back down. Breathing in to prepare, breathing out to lift up. Shoulders back and down. One arm floats up. I like to alternate which side I lift up so that you're not always focusing on your dominant side. And then lower back down. Breathing in to prepare. Breathing out to lift up. We're doing 8 of these, and this can feel like a long exercise, but the strength and the heat in your body that you will build up is fantastic. Really strengthening for your posture, for your back muscles. We often spend a lot of time hunched over a computer, so this is doing the opposite of that, strengthening those mid to lower back shoulder blade muscles. Mid to lower shoulder blade muscles, yeah. Excellent. Big squeeze. Hands underneath your forehead. Big squeeze with lift. Toes together, heels apart. Breathing in to prepare. Breathing out, pelvic floor, navel to spine. Keep your toes together now. Press your heels, your calves, your inside thighs. Squeeze your buttocks and then gently, slowly lift your legs up, lower down, and then separate the heels to return to the start position. Breathing in to prepare. Pelvic floor, navel to spine. Squeeze the inside thighs together and then reach the legs out. Lower back down and then release. Again. Now the challenge here is to not only keep the legs together as you lift up, but to use your buttocks and not your lower back. So when you lift your legs up, thinking of imprinting the pubic bone down into the mat. As you lift up the legs, imagine there's a rope around your ankles pulling you away. So don't worry about how high they lift up. Think of the stretch through the legs instead. Again, when you squeeze and press your heels together, the big toes are still touching. And imagine a ruler sliding underneath your lower abdominals. Again, inside thighs, buttocks, lifting you up. Place the legs down and release. Now into swimming legs only, so keep your hands underneath your forehead. Legs are apart, toes are pointed, kneecaps are lifting up, so squeeze your thighs, pubic bone imprinted into the mat. Now lift both legs up and then one leg at a time. 2, keep the knees straight. That's the challenge, is lifting one leg, alternating sides, keeping your knees absolutely like they're locked. Hips, the headlights of your hips are square to the mat. Your pubic bone is imprinting and then lower down. Shell stretch. Place the hands back. Knees and feet together, sit back on your heels, reach your arms out like child's pose, and then from there, contract your buttocks, press your inside thighs together, feeling your glutes, your inside thighs, and your abdominals opening up your lower to mid back. Your tummy is really scooped in, co-contraction of the belly and the abs. Drawing the hips toward your ribs, tucking the tail and sit bones down to the back of the legs. Such a lovely feeling. It's quite strengthening and very opening. Hinge with the hands on the belly. So thigh stretch with the hands on the belly. So thumbs touching your ribs, little fingers touching your hip bones. Hinging back from the knees and then return. Breathing in to hinge back and then breathing out to return. The challenge here is to hinge back from the knees without moving your pelvis or lower spine at all. Rib to hip connection. Contracting your sit bones down to the back of the knees to activate the hamstrings. And lengthen the ribs up and out of the pelvis. Spine stretch with thoracic extension. Legs out, flex the feet, arms are straight. You can have your knees bent if you can't sit up straight. Now squeeze your buttocks 3 times, 2 times, 1 more time. Keep your buttocks contracted and then you're going to squeeze, curve forward and then lift up to sitting. Reach the hands back behind you, bend the elbows, raise the chest to the ceiling, return to neutral, arms parallel to the floor. C curve forward, lift up, collarbones down, reach the arms back behind you, lifting the breastplate up and then return. Again, the buttocks is contracted. Imagine you're imprinting your lower ribs back into a wall. Reach your arms back and then kiss your shoulder blades down and together. You don't want to hunch the shoulders up or strain the neck. abdominals, like you're doing a sit-up, but you're seated, reaching back, mid-back muscles, lifting you up, return. Into roll like a ball, prep, hands on the thighs, and we roll back, breathing in, breathing out to return, feet touch the mat. Do about 10 of these. It's a beautiful massage on your back. The challenge is to keep your heels in towards your buttocks as you roll back and forth. Keep the heels into your buttocks. Hollow out your belly. Pressing your feet together to help you activate your inside thighs. Check into your upper shoulders and your neck. Unhunch them, drawing the shoulders down. Well done. We're going into long leg lifts. Lie on your side. I like to align my pelvis and shoulders in line with the long end of the mat, so I know that my torso is straight. So I'm just checking there that my pelvis is in line with the mat, that my shoulders are in line with the mat, and then bottom knee is bent up in a tabletop and top leg is in line. So waist is lifted on that underneath side, so your obliques are working. The foot is in line with the hip and the leg is straight. So there's a straight line from head to heel here. Active leg, lift the leg up and then return to hip height. 2. Our target area is the outside hip muscle. If I was to poke around your buttocks, the buttocks is engaged, so drawing the sit bone down to the back of the leg, and the thigh muscle is engaged as well. Keeping the foot parallel is a challenge. When you lift the leg up, don't allow your toes to rotate up towards the ceiling. Now into side kick, so 2 kicks forward, 1 reach back. Flex the foot and then point the foot. Keep the pelvis stable, keep your lower back and waist stable. Keeping the foot in line with the hip is a challenge, so we're working that outside hip. 10 of these. It's a pelvic stability and torso challenge, as well as glute and hamstring strengthening. Kick, kick, and then activate the back of the leg. Kick, kick, and then reach the foot away from the hip. Reach out through the heel, reach out through the toe. Have a rest, put the foot down, 2 deep breaths. Into power circles. Lift the leg up, the foot is in line with the hip. Check into your alignment, heel and head all in one line, waist is lifted. And then power circles, 10, 9, 8, about the size of a saucer, 7, 6, go back, 5, think back of the leg, back of the leg, back of the leg. And then reverse it. Really challenging on your pelvis and torso to stay very still as you do these fast little circles of your thigh. Side reach on the elbow, elbow underneath your shoulder. Legs are out straight this time. The heels and pelvis and shoulder and elbow are all in one line. Make sure that upper trapezius muscle is soft, tummy is lifted. Pressing through the elbow, and now from this start position you lift your hips up and then you lower back down to the start position. Do not allow your collarbone to go up around the ear when the hip goes down. The challenge is to lift your hips and keep your upper shoulder, your upper trapezius soft. Well done. Long leg lifts. Bottom knee bent, top leg straight, foot flexed. Belly in, waist is lifted. Heel in line with your pelvis and head. Foot is flexed, back of the leg is activated. Draw the sit bone down to the thigh and then squeeze your kneecap up. Lift and lower 10 times. So from hip height up higher and then to hip height. 10 of these. focusing on the muscle on the outside of the hip, reaching through the heel, thigh at the front and the back is engaged. Now 2 kicks forward, 1 reach back. 2 kicks forward, 1 reach back. I've got my hand on my lower abdominals there. I like to keep it there just to feel my pelvic stability, isolating the thigh in the hip socket whilst keeping your lower back and pelvis as motionless as possible. Reaching the heel away from the hip and the toes away from the hip. Just keep breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. It's like you're breathing out through a straw and then into power circles. I'm having a little rest here. Just switching everything off. And then ready to rock and roll again. So align your body, make sure it's all straight. Waist is lifted. And then foot is flexed and circle. 2, 3, reach. 4, through the heel. 5, work the back of the leg. So I'm giving my gluteal fold area with a bit of a poke there. You want to feel that connection there. And that muscle around the gluteal fold is circling your leg. Flexing the foot to activate the thigh, reaching out through the heel, and then lower down. And now we're going into side reach on the elbow. Elbow underneath your shoulder, feet in line with your hips. Lift your rib cage up and then draw your collarbone up around your ear. Pull your collarbone down away from your ear. Have a feel, make sure that upper shoulder is soft. I do about 3 of these, just get into that feeling of the correct position on your shoulder, keeping that collarbone down, rib is lifted. If you feel like the elbow's too far out, just tuck it underneath your shoulder a bit more. And then lift the hips up and then lightly tap the hip down. 2, 3, working your shoulder stability and your abdominals. 4, do about 6 of these. 5, press the feet and the elbows down to lift your hips. Well done. Into clam. Once again, line yourself up with the long side of the mat. Feet are in line with your hips, knees are bent. Waist is lifted so that your obliques are engaged and your spine is stabilized. Hips are stacked, knees are stacked. Headlights of your hips stay nice and still as you lift the top leg up and down. 10 of these. Pressing the heels together really helps you activate those deep hip muscles, deep inside the hip. Pelvic floor, navel to spine is gently supporting your core, your center. Our target area is the glutes on that top leg. And you want to keep them contracted on the way down as well. So even as the knee lowers down, pressing those heels towards one another. Clam 2, straighten out the bottom leg. The leg is in line with your hips. Lift the knee up and then return halfway down. Don't go all the way down because that often will make your pelvis rock towards the mat. And of course, the priority here is to keep the pelvis stable as you move your thigh in your hip socket. A gentle tuck of your sit bones down to the back of the thighs to activate the back of the legs. Stretching the knee out away from the hip socket. Torso stability, scapular stability, soft upper shoulders and neck. Other side, so just rolling onto your side, make sure your feet are in line with your hips, everything aligned there. I use the long end of the mat, rib cage lifted, hips square, lift and lower the top leg, 10, and then back down, 9, 8, pressing those heels together. 7, we'll get into those deep hip muscles. And it's quite hard to know if you are rolling your hips or not, so you can place your hand on your top hip to make sure it's not rolling, but also check into that bottom hip bone, make sure it's not rolling the impression forward and back there. If that impression of that underneath side is consistent, then you know that your pelvis isn't rotating. Clam 2. Lengthen the bottom leg out. Reach the top knee away from the hip. Zipping the pubic bone up into your belly button. Lengthening up out of your chest. Soft upper shoulders and neck. Deep breathing. Pivoting from the side of the foot to the sole of the foot. Excellent. Okay, lying on your back in the middle of the mat, we're doing beginner leg weight series. Legs are up towards the ceiling. If you can have your knees bent, and then we do a scissor action. Put your hands on your hips to keep your hips nice and square. Thigh and tummy. Thigh and tummy. This is called scissors. Imprint your lower back and your lower ribs down into the floor. And high openings. Turn the legs out, open the legs out wide, and then press the heels together. Breathing in to open, breathing out to return. Scoop the belly in. Work the back of the legs and your abdominals as you draw the heels together. Shoulder blades are plugged flat. You can do this with ankle weights on as well if you've got that available. Great for your lymphatic system, great for your circulation, having your legs up higher than your heart like that. Really strengthening for your legs and your knees. Into helicopter. So we do a split, right leg forward, left leg back, and then out to the side, and then left leg forward, and then return. Now repeat that again, right leg forward, out to the side, left leg forward, return. You can have your knees slightly bent or try and lock your knees as much as you can. 5 leading with the right leg forward, and then we'll do 5 leading with the left leg forward. And then return. Left leg, reach out and return. Left leg. Check into your lower back. Make sure you're not using your lower back. If your toes cramp up, you can push through the ball of the foot like you're up on stilettos and splay the toes out. Imprinting the lower rib cage, the lower back, and then grab hold of your knees. Have a little breather. Now into bicycle. Legs are up, arms are down, and then you reach one leg out and then you switch legs like you're riding a bicycle. Flexing through the heels, really activate the legs, squeezing the knees. Reaching out through the heels and then reverse it like you're riding the bicycle backwards, really strengthening for your thighs and your core. Good, plugging the shoulders back, reaching out through the body. Hip flexor stretch, grab hold of your left knee, squeeze it in, reach the leg out, and then other side. Grab the knee, reach the other leg out. Well done. We're going to go into some 4-point kneeling work. Stack your joints, wrists underneath shoulders, knees underneath hips. Tuck your toes, and you're going to do some shoulder work with your knees just up off the ground. Draw your shoulder blades up around your ears and then squeeze them down away from the ears. Upper collarbones down. The collarbones go up and down, so your shoulder blades elevate and depress. Quite challenging. Well done. Have a rest. Sit back on your toes, stretching your toes out. Check into your lower back, connect ribs to hips. And then once again, so stack your joints, lift your knees up, and then we're going to protract and retract. You draw your shoulder blades wide, and then you draw your shoulder blades towards each other. Try not to curve your spine. It's your shoulder blades wrapping around your rib cage. Well done. Really tough exercise. So is this, stretching out your toes. Really, really important to do that though for your feet. Okay, last one, knees hovering and then circumduction. So you're circling your shoulders around in a circle, 4, and then we reverse it. So they go back, up, forward, down. 2, good. 3, abdominals. 4, good work. It's really tough. Okay, toe stretch again with a wrist stretch. Grab your thumb, flex your hand, stretch out. Other side. 2. Grab the fingers one at a time and stretch them back, opening up. Obviously be careful, listen to your body. And then the little finger, and then we do the other side. So from underneath, grab your thumb, stretch it out, and then grab your index finger, stretch it out. Grab your middle finger, stretch it out. Grab your ring finger, stretch it out. Grab your little finger, stretch it out. Good work. 4-point kneeling, opposite arm and leg reach. Stack your joints. Connect your core, ribs to hips. Reach your right leg back and your left arm forward. Now pull the collarbone away from the ear. Draw the rib cage in towards your hips. Reach the right leg out. Engage your leg. Squeeze your knee. Deep breathing. Now place the knee down, keeping the arm up. It's a challenge there. And then place the left hand down. Opposite arm and leg reach. Reaching out. Balancing there. Now pull the collarbone away from your ear. Draw the rib cage in. Reach the leg out. Keep breathing in a smooth, flowing way. Left knee down on the mat and then plant that right hand down. Good work. Pyramid to plank with leg lifts. So you're in a downward facing dog, or what we call pyramid in Pilates. Hands are out wide, feet are tennis ball width apart. You can have your knees bent or have your legs straight. Looking towards the middle of the mat so your neck is long. Collarbones away from the ears, wrap your shoulder blades wide. Now go out into a plank, shoulders over wrist, lift your right leg 3 times, 2 times, 1 time. Now lift your left leg 3 times, 2 times, 1 time. Now hold your arms still. Imagine you're doing 3 push-ups. 3, 2, 1, and then pyramid position. Pressing your hands down and forward and your feet down and back. Collarbones away from the ears. Tummy scooped in, reaching the hips away from the hands. Beautiful stretch. Now out into a plank, shoulders over wrist. Now lift your left leg up 3 times, pressing into your right leg. The challenge here is to keep the headlights of your hips square as you isolate your thigh and your hip socket. Imagine you're doing 3 push-ups, 2 push-ups, 1, and then pyramid position, folding at the hips. The tips of your shoulders are drawing wide. Your tummy is hollowing in. Your thigh bones are pressing back. Out into a plank. Lift your right leg up. 3, 2, 1. Lift your left leg up. If it gets too wristy, try and grip the mat with your finger pads so your nails are white. 3, 2, 1. Push-ups, that's what you're imagining. And then hinge in the hips. Pyramid, good. Stay with me. It is tough. We've got one last one to do. Okay, feel strong, connected in your body. And then out into a plank. Lift your left leg up. 3, reach it out. 2, 1. Hips to ribs. 3, back of the leg. 2, engage. 1. Imagine 3 push-ups. 3, 2, 1. Bend your knees. Sit back in child's pose. Have a little rest. Forehead down on the mat. Breathing wide into your lower ribs. Breathing out, just relax your face. Okay. Into a hip flexor stretch. Left leg forward. I like to scoot the knee back a little bit. And then just stretching out, just revisiting this stretch again. Into a kneeling lunge or quad stretch. Grab a TheraBand and put it around your foot, or you can use a tie or some stockings or a yoga strap, and then you're going to draw your foot in towards your hip. Now, that's if you're quite tight. If you can, reach around and grab your foot and then place your left hand down. This is a very intense stretch. Just do what you can. You're more on your thigh than your kneecap. Your kneecap's away. Now lift up so that your elbow is on your left thigh. Good. Stay with it, breathing. Think calm body, calm breath. If that's too intense, just put your hand back down. Massive stretch. Just do what you can. Kneeling half split. Keep your chest connected to your thigh and then hinging back. Soft neck, soft upper shoulders, heavy head. Allowing the weight of your head to stretch and lengthen the back of your left leg. One breath at a time, there's no rush. And then into pigeon. So just wiggle that left foot across. Your left knee is in line with your left hand and your shin is on a diagonal. Now scoot your right knee back 3 times, 2 times, 1 time, and then lower down. So your left knee is towards your left armpit and your left foot is towards your right hip bone. Breathing in a way that's creating stretch in your body. So there's a gentle pull of your back leg back. There's a gentle reach of your front leg forward. Lifting up, tuck your toe, scoop your belly in and then into a pyramid position. Other side, right leg, step it forward, scoot the kneecap back, kneeling lunge. Breathing into the stretch. With each out breath, imagine your pubic bone melting down towards the floor. Gently pressing both feet down into the mat to open the front of your left hip. Reach around and grab hold of your foot. It is super intense, so if it's too much, you use a prop like a strap. You can come up onto your elbow or onto your knee with your elbow, or have your hand down on the floor. Stay with it, 1 breath at a time. It is intense, but if you can pause and breathe and just relax there, it will really be so beneficial for your thigh. Then into a kneeling half split. So you shift your weight back, head is heavy. Soften your neck and your jaw and your tongue. With each out breath, allow the skull to be heavy to stretch the back of your right leg. Pigeon stretch, so wiggle the foot across. Knee is in line with your right hand. Scoot your knee back a few times. And then over you go. Dropping the head down. Reaching the thigh bones out away from the hips. Feeling the breath, the movement of the breath in the ribs, at the back and the side. With each out breath, imagining your muscles stretching and releasing. This is a good stretch if you have sciatica. And if you have a tight lower back, this is also a great stretch. Stretching out the hips is important for tight lower back. Coming up onto your hands, tuck the back toe, push into your hands, connect to your abs, and then pyramid position. Okay, now we're going into some TheraBand work. Grab a TheraBand and we'll do rotator cuff series. Rotator cuff series 2 is a progression from the level 1. Dumb waiter with rotation. Shoulders back and down, palms up, squeeze the shoulder blades back as you open and close the arms, keeping the elbows in tight. Shoulder blades flat against the ribs. So do about 10 of these, and then we're going to add in a rotation where you rotate to the right, rotate to the left, keeping the other arm still. So we're doing rotator cuff, so you'll feel the shoulder blade muscle at the back there engaging, and we're using the back and abdominals to rotate the spine. Looking towards the direction that you're rotating towards. Good. Roll your shoulders around, have a little rest. Into cut a tree. I like to hold on to the TheraBands like this, so my grip is along the length of it. The TheraBands around your lower shoulder blade level. Grab hold and then elbows in. Now you're going to reach forward, open out, draw the arms forward and then return. Protract, retract, protract, and then retract. You can do it with the palms up to the ceiling as well. Experiment with what feels best on your shoulders. Reach open. Very strengthening for serratus anterior, an important shoulder blade stability muscle. Now, cut a tree. So lift the chest up, return in, reach, breastplate lifts. Only look up towards the ceiling within a range that you can keep the back of the neck long. And it's like you're flaring the ribs wide whilst keeping the lower abdominals zipping in and up. It's actually a really nice feeling when you get the muscles integrating. And into flies. Arms up and then reach back and then forward. Press the arms back past your shoulder level, focusing on the muscles in between the shoulder blades, the rhomboids. Now add in rotation. So you're going to rotate to the right, back to center. Rotate to the left. Muscles at the back of the shoulder, in between the shoulder and the spine are working. Your oblique muscles, so opposite rib to hip, are helping you rotate. The challenge in all of those is to keep those collarbones from hunching up when you do this. Sorry, that's gone a bit dark. My light turned off. Now we're going into TheraBand rowing. I love these ones. So put the TheraBand around your feet, engage your bottom, squeeze your legs. Thighs strong, buttock muscles strong, and then reach the elbows back and forward. 2, 3, lifting the ribs up out of the hips. 4, kissing the shoulders back. 5, breastplate lifts. 3, 2, 1. Then into hip width rotation. Good, I'm just doing a few extra. And then rotate forward and rotate. Strengthening for your thighs, your torso. Sitting in this L shape is actually quite challenging. Okay, if you don't have the flexibility or the strength, do this with your knees bent into a pec stretch. So cross your legs over, grab hold of the TheraBand, lift up and reach back and forward. Such a beautiful stretch for the shoulders. And you're thinking of energetically trying to touch the wall behind you, reach it back. And that's it. Thank you so much. I hope you're feeling fabulous. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you can stay up to date and get notified when it's released. Thanks for watching, and remember, movement is medicine.